You're listening to station 104.7 FM, if you still can. My name is Jet Harrington. I'm still here. It's just past 9 a.m., or at least it was the last time my watch synced up with a working satellite. It's quiet out. Too quiet. I can't hear the hum of the grid anymore. The fans aren't kicking in. The temperature in here's holding steady at 81 degrees, but it feels hotter somehow. The walls are sweating like the air's pressing in. There's no breeze, no bird calls, nothing beyond the occasional pop of gunfire a few streets over. I used to think silence was peaceful. Now it feels like the world's holding its breath, waiting for the next scream. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. This broadcast's running on a backup diesel generator. I siphoned fuel from a fire truck 2 nights ago. Not proud of it, but no one's driving that truck anymore. The town's fire station burned down last week. Everything's upside down. There are no rules now. Just survival. I'm broadcasting out of an old news station bunker in Ashpine, Kentucky. You won't find it on many maps. It's one of those towns you drive through without remembering. But now it might be one of the last places you can still hear a voice on the air. I don't know how far my signal's going. It used to reach maybe a 30-mile radius, but the transmitter's weaker now. We're degrading, like everything else. Still, if you're out there, if you can hear me, if you're still human, stay alive. Please. Stay alive. It started 4 weeks ago. That's when the first call came into the police station. A woman screaming that her husband was trying to chew through the bedroom door. I thought it was bath salts, or meth, or maybe just a bad domestic violence case. We get those out here sometimes. But then it happened again, and again. Not just 1 or 2 crazed people. Dozens. Hundreds. Then whole towns went dark. The power didn't go out because of a storm or a cyber attack, or because someone flipped a switch. The grid held until the bodies stacking up made it impossible for anyone to keep the engines running. Hospitals filled up by the second week, not with flu cases, not with fever, with violence, people being bitten, tearing each other apart. But it wasn't rabies. It wasn't any disease we knew. I talked to a nurse named Andrea, God bless her, before the lines went dead. She said the infected didn't just act aggressive. They were beyond pain, beyond reason. Their pupils shrunk to pinholes. Blood pressure spiked. Skin flushed red and hot. Screaming, foaming, running faster than they should be able to. The CDC stopped answering after day 9. FEMA was overrun by day 11. The president hasn't made a statement in 12 days. No signal from Washington. No chain of command. No emergency alerts. No warnings. Just static. I think we were already too late when the news first said the word rage. They don't feel pain. They don't sleep. And they don't stop. I've seen a man tear his own fingernails off trying to claw through a door just to get at the sound of a breathing body. I've seen a woman leap headfirst through a car window, glass and all, to grab her own son. There's something inside them. It's not just madness. It's not human. It spreads fast, through blood mostly. Bites, scratches, sometimes just a cough. I don't know. It moves too fast to be sure of the rules. Whatever it is, it changes people in minutes, sometimes seconds. There's no cure, no treatment. If someone gets infected, they don't get better. They just vanish into that thing that takes over. I saw it happen, firsthand. My brother Ryan, he was a firefighter, tried to help an old man stuck in a wreck. The guy was bleeding all over, coughing, eyes red as coal. Ryan got a cut on his neck from the wreckage. That was it. That was all it took. 34 minutes later, Ryan wasn't Ryan. He slammed his fists into the station's concrete wall until his hands broke. I couldn't stop him. I couldn't reach him. I had to lock him in. He's still in there. I don't know what's worse, what's happening out there, or what we're turning into because of it. People have started doing horrible things, even the uninfected. Neighbors stealing food, friends turning on each other for water. One woman left her baby at the church steps because she couldn't carry both bags and the child. And I didn't stop her. I just watched. But not everyone's gone bad. I got a call yesterday, right before the signal started to stutter. A man named Marcus from Boonville said his daughter had been teaching kids how to distill water with nothing but sunlight and an old fish tank. Said the kids were calling her the little engineer. 12 years old, still finding ways to help people, still trying to fix a broken world. That's why I'm still on the air. This broadcast, it isn't much, it's just my voice. But sometimes a voice is all it takes to keep the light on a little longer. If you're listening, and you can, call in. Share your story, warn others, or just let someone know you're still out there. I'll keep the line open as long as I've got power, and as long as I've got breath in me. And if you're alone, if you're scared, so am I. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You're human. We weren't made for this, but we're here, somehow, and we keep going. This is Jet Harrington, Ash Pine, Kentucky, 104.7 FM. I'll be here till the signal dies. Stay tuned. Stay breathing. The phone lines went dead again last night. I don't know if it's the signal degrading, or if there's just nobody left trying to talk. I sat in this chair, staring at the switchboard, watching the red light that used to blink when someone dialed in. It used to blink like a heartbeat. Last night, nothing. Just me, and the buzz of the diesel generator outside, steady, low, like a tired old man breathing in the dark. It's July 11th now, I think. The calendar on the wall is stuck on the 7th. I've been writing the dates down on scraps of paper and taping them to the console. It helps me feel like time still matters. Like we're not just floating in the void. There's smoke in the sky again this morning. Not the thick black kind from gas stations or chemical fires. This smoke is pale gray, soft, almost lazy as it drifts. Wood smoke, like people are burning fences and furniture to cook or stay warm. Which means someone's still out there, still trying to live. Still trying. A while ago, I saw someone walking along Route 13 from the studio's rooftop. Just one figure. They weren't moving fast. No stumbling. Not infected. Not yet. Looked like they had a cart behind them. Could have been supplies. Could have been a child. I wanted to shout, to wave something from the roof. But what do you say to a stranger now? Hey, don't come close, but don't give up either. I didn't do anything. I just watched. That's all I do now. Watch and talk. Talk into this mic, hoping my words find someone. The rage. That's what we're calling it now. Capital R rage. Not just a feeling anymore. It's a state, a transformation, an infection of the blood and the soul. I talked to my friend Max last week. He used to be a paramedic out of Bowling Green. Said the first cases he saw looked like seizures at first. Twitching, screaming, eyes wide like they were looking through you. But the screaming didn't stop. He said one man screamed for 11 straight minutes before he bit into his own wrist, just tore it open like it didn't matter. Max said the body changes fast, veins rise to the surface, skin burns hot, Something's wrong with the adrenal system. Overdrive, like the body thinks it's in danger and just never stops reacting. No off switch, no rest, just rage until the muscles tear or the body gives out. Some people think it's a weapon, something designed. Others say it was in nature all along, just waiting. I don't know. I stopped trying to explain it. All I know is, when someone turns, it's not slow, it's not quiet. It's like watching a fuse burn down to nothing. Then boom. They're not who they were. They don't recognize you. They don't speak. They don't plead. They just charge. And they move fast. That's the thing nobody on the early broadcasts told you. These aren't shufflers. They sprint. On all fours sometimes. And they don't care what's in their way. Fences, doors, glass. It doesn't matter. If they hear you or smell you, they come. The quiet is what saves you now. No generators, no radios too loud, no arguing, no dogs barking. Just silence. Silence keeps you breathing. I heard a story from someone named Callie. She called in 2 nights ago from what's left of Crossville, Tennessee. She said she watched her neighbor make it out of their house through the back fence while 4 of the infected tore into the front porch. Said the neighbor never screamed, never cried, just slipped into the woods barefoot. Last she saw, he was halfway across the field, bleeding, but running like hell. She said he was the only one who made it. Sometimes the ones who survive aren't the strongest. They're the quiet ones, the ones who watch, wait, the ones who know when to disappear. This morning, I found a pack of canned peaches, expired in 2022. Didn't matter. I ate them slow, sitting under the window, watching the sun rise through broken blinds. It's funny what you start to notice when everything else is gone. The way light hits dust in the air, the sound of a spoon against metal, the taste of something sweet when most days taste like dust and fear. I keep a journal now, not because I think anyone will find it, but because I need to remember I existed, that I was here, that I had a name, a voice, a brother, a life. There's a picture on the desk of Ryan and me, back when he graduated from the academy. He's got that stupid grin on his face, the one he always made when he knew I was annoyed. He didn't get to grow old. He didn't even get to die. Not really. He just got taken. By whatever this is. I wonder how many families have stories like mine now. Probably too many. If you're listening, and I still believe someone is, there are a few things you need to know to stay alive. Don't travel at night. They move more in the dark. Something about the quiet draws them out. Don't use flashlights unless you're underground or fully covered. That beam can be seen from far. Too far. Boil your water. Always. Even if it looks clean. Contaminants are the least of your problems. But you can't afford to get sick now. And never trust a town that's too quiet. If there are no sounds, no signs of life, no dogs, no birds, it's probably already gone. I don't say these things to scare you. I say them because they're true. And the truth might be the only thing that still matters. A girl named Layla left me a message. She didn't say where she was. Just that she was 10, and she was taking care of her little brother. Said her mom wasn't herself anymore. Said they were hiding in a school kitchen, eating old granola bars. She said she listens every day, every single day, even when it's hard to hear me, even when the static cuts in. She said, "Your voice makes it feel like the world's not gone yet." Layla, if you hear this, you're the reason I haven't turned this mic off. Keep going. Just keep going. This is Jet Harrington. Still breathing. Still broadcasting. More coming soon. I've started sleeping in the booth now. Not that sleep really happens anymore. I just lie down on the floor under the desk, blanket wrapped tight, radio still humming. You know what wakes me up more than anything these days? The silence. That kind of silence that doesn't even have a hum under it. No fridge, no AC, no buzz from the highway, nothing. It's like the earth unplugged itself. Last night I had a dream. I was walking through the old farmer's market on Main Street. Just me and a few stands still stocked with peaches and tomatoes, like the season never ended. In the dream, I could hear music. Someone was playing a banjo. Ryan was there too, standing behind one of the tables like he never died. Said he saved the best apples for me. I woke up with the taste of apples in my mouth and the smell of smoke creeping through the vents. It wasn't a fire, just someone burning trash again. Probably someone nearby trying to cook or stay warm. The air smelled like rubber and plastic. My throat's been raw ever since. At first, I thought the smoke was from the hills, but when I climbed up to the roof again around dawn, I saw a different kind of fire. Something big, west of town, Ash Pine Elementary. The whole building was up, flames through the roof, blackened windows glowing orange. I could barely see through the trees, but I know that silhouette. I played there as a kid. That school survived 3 floods, 2 tornadoes, and budget cuts for decades. It didn't survive this. I don't know if anyone was inside. I don't know if I want to know. I haven't left the station in 3 days. The last time I did, I found a man strung up outside the post office with a note stapled to his chest. He brought it here. That's all it said. Black marker, all caps, no name, just a message. Whether it was true or not, it didn't matter. The people here are scared. They're angry. They're tired. And they're looking for someone to blame. Always. I came back. Locked the doors. Didn't sleep that night. This morning, I rerouted the emergency antenna, boosted the range. If the hill tower's still standing, you should hear me out to Corbin now. Maybe even London. I don't know. Signal's patchy, static keeps bleeding in. But if anyone's out there, this might be the last station you'll hear for a while. I got a signal boost off a shortwave this afternoon. Scratchy, low power, coming in and out like it was drowning. I think it was a guy named Raoul from southern Ohio. Said he and a few others were hiding out in an old bowling alley near Gallipolis. Said they rigged solar panels on the roof using traffic signs and salvaged batteries from school buses. He said, "We can keep the fridge running for about 5 hours a day if we don't use lights." That's the kind of ingenuity I didn't expect to matter again. But now it's everything. Battery life, sunlight, cable insulation, knowing which wires are live, knowing when to cut the red one. This used to be trivia. Now it's life or death. Raoul also said they lost 2 people yesterday. Not to the infected, but to starvation. He didn't say their names, just that they were old. One of them used to teach home EC. The other played the saxophone. It broke his voice when he said it. I could hear it. That little crack we all get now when we realize just how fragile life really is. No hero's death, no gunfire, no chasing. Just quiet. Just hunger. We're not built for this kind of world, but we're adapting. Some of us, anyway. If you're listening, I want to share something that might actually help. Water. I know it sounds basic, but a lot of people are getting sick. Not from infection, but from waterborne bacteria. If you can find a metal pot, any kind of lid, and a glass bottle, you can use the sun to purify your water. Here's how. Take your dirty water, boil it inside the pot until it steams. Run a copper or aluminum tube from the lid to the glass bottle. The condensation that collects is clean. Drink that. The rest, don't risk it. If you can't boil it, leave it in the sun for a full day in a clear plastic bottle. Not as good, but better than nothing. Someone named Benny sent me that method over CB a few days back. Said it's how he's keeping his daughter alive in a cabin near Red River Gorge. He's been off-grid for years, never trusted phones. Now he's probably better off than the rest of us. Maybe the people we used to call paranoid were just prepared. I remember when the lights first went out in town. Most folks thought it was just a blown transformer. A storm had passed through 2 nights before. Some figured it was lingering damage. I even thought that. I told people on the air not to panic. Told them the crews would be out soon. Told them the trucks were on the way. They never came. Nobody came. I watched families sit on their porches waiting for the repairmen. Listened to babies cry through the thin summer nights. Heard the thump of generators starting and stopping. Then silence again. Then screams. The sound of screaming. It's different now. It's not fear anymore. It's rage. Real rage. That's the only word for it. Like whatever this virus does, it burns the humanity right out. Leaves only the fire. I've got a list I'm keeping. Names of people who called. People I know. People I hope are still out there. Layla, 10 years old, hiding in a school kitchen with her brother. Marcus and his daughter, Boonville, built a water distiller out of aquarium parts. Raoul, Gallipolis, solar panels on a bowling alley roof. Callie, Crossville, neighbor ran barefoot through the fields. Benny, Red River Gorge, raising a child in the woods. If you're listening and your name is on this list, you're not forgotten. If you're not on this list, but you're alive, call in, radio in, send a shortwave. I'm listening. We all are. Somewhere, someone still is. This is Jet Harrington. Still breathing. Still on air. It's almost sunset now. The kind that drips gold over everything, like the sky's pretending nothing's wrong. For a second, the way the light hits the hills outside town, it almost looks like before. Peaceful, like Sunday evening quiet. But if you stand still long enough, you can feel it. The tension, like something's watching, waiting for dark. The infected don't always come out at night, but they move more freely when the world can't see them. When the shadows stretch longer than the roads and even the crickets go silent. I've started hearing them more at night. Not just the screaming, the panting, the clawing. Sometimes it's the scrape of nails against concrete. Sometimes it's the sound of something sprinting past the station walls so fast you almost think you imagined it. I don't know what's worse, knowing something's out there or wondering if it was just your head playing tricks. Last night, one of them slammed against the studio door. Hard, metal on metal. Then silence. I didn't breathe for at least a minute. Just sat here in the dark, hand over my mouth, waiting to hear if it would try again. It didn't, but I never heard it leave either. That's the kind of thing that sticks with you. I've got the lights off in here, using only the red panel glow from the board. No lamps, no screen glare, just the sound of my voice in the headphones and the quiet static hum around me. It helps to talk. That's what I've figured out, even if nobody's answering back. Even if it's just me and the walls. I got a message earlier. Scrambled transmission on a weather band. Couldn't make out most of it, but one word came through. Arkansas. Then static. Then a woman's voice saying, "They're learning." Then silence. I don't know what she meant. I've thought about it all day. They're learning? Are they adapting? Figuring things out? I don't want to believe that. I want to believe this virus just burns hot and fast and leaves nothing behind but chaos. But if there's something more, if they're watching us, tracking us, I don't know. I've seen things I can't explain. I saw one of them last week standing completely still in the middle of the road. Not running. Not charging. Just standing. Staring up at the power lines. Head tilted. Eyes wide open like it was listening for something. Like it was thinking. When I moved, it snapped its head toward me like a switch got flipped. Full sprint. I ducked behind the vending machine in the lot and stayed there for 3 hours. I could hear it breathing. Fast. Animal-like. But it didn't leave right away. It waited. Like it knew I was there. That's not instinct. That's something else. I heard from a guy in Indiana. Said his name was Troy. Said he used to work at a virology lab in Bloomington. He wasn't high level, just maintenance. But he had keys. He saw things. Troy told me the virus wasn't airborne at first. But now, he thinks it's changed. He said someone tried to test the infected's breath with a thermal cam and found heat traces several feet out. Said their exhale was charged with something thick, some kind of aerosol, not visible, not smoke, but heavy, denser than air. He said they found mold on the walls where infected had stayed for too long. I asked him if it was spreading by air now. He said, "Not yet, but it's close." I don't know how much of that to believe, but I'm putting it out there in case it helps someone, in case someone else has seen the same thing. You gotta be your own scientist now, your own medic, your own guard. The old systems, the experts, the warnings, the phones, they're gone. Now it's just us, you and your instinct. Me and this mic. A few voices hanging on through static. Today I cracked the last bottle of iodine I found in the first aid kit. My stomach's been off. Not infected, don't worry. Just bad canned beans, I think. I boiled everything, but you can never be too sure anymore. Any little thing can knock you out of the game. Drink bad water? That's it. You get sick, you get weak. Weak means slow. Slow means dead. A girl named Naomi messaged me through ham radio today. She's in West Virginia. Said she's living in an old mining shack with 2 others, an ex-Marine named Chris and a mechanic named Drew. They've got traps set up around the perimeter. Fishing line with bottle caps for noise. Said it's helped them sleep. She said Chris has been teaching her how to use a revolver. Said he taught her how to clean it, take it apart, fire without flinching. She's 17. She said before this, she was scared to touch the oven. Now she's aiming at heads in the dark. I didn't know what to say. She said, "Don't worry, Jet. I only shoot if I have to." God, I hope she never has to. I've been thinking about my parents more lately. They were long gone before any of this started. Heart disease took my dad. My mom passed in her sleep 6 years ago. Peacefully. Back when that word still meant something. But if they'd been alive when this started, I don't think they'd have made it. My mom would have panicked. My dad would have tried to save everyone. He was like that. Always the hero until the end. I think he'd be proud of this. Of me sitting here, talking into the dark. Trying to hold the signal just a little longer. Keeping the light on, even if it's only a flicker. You know, there's something strange about this kind of solitude. You learn to notice things, the creak of the building settling, the buzz when a signal tries to push through, the way your breath changes when you think someone's watching. I keep the door barred now, heavy table across it, bolted. No one gets in without me knowing. The generator's running low. I'll need to head out soon, try to siphon fuel from the truck stop again. That place is crawling with shadows, though. Last time I went, I saw at least 2 infected pacing in the lot. Not sprinting, just pacing. Like they were looking for something they lost. Maybe they were. Maybe deep down, they remember something. Or maybe that's just what I want to believe. This is Jet Harrington, still alive, still on the air. Call if you can. Call if you're safe. Or just call if you need someone to hear your voice before the night takes you. I'll be listening. It's close to midnight now. The generator's running louder than usual. I think something's caught in the exhaust. I checked it earlier. Looked like a clump of leaves or maybe fur. I didn't touch it. Just cleared what I could and walked away. That thing is the only reason this voice still exists. If it dies, the station goes quiet. And once it's quiet, I don't know if I come back from that. Tonight feels heavier than the last few. The air's thick. You ever feel like the sky's pressing down on you? Like the dark isn't just around you, but inside you too. That's how it feels right now. Every breath tastes like rust. I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. Found some powdered soup mix, but no clean water to boil it with. I've been rationing what's left of the bottles. 4 liters now. Maybe 3.5. Depends how long I can stretch it. I'm not telling you this to make it about me. I'm telling you because I want you to know what it's really like. Not the version they show in movies. No guns blazing. No dramatic rescues. Just a lot of waiting. A lot of listening. A lot of trying to stay human when everything in you wants to disappear. Someone tried to break in earlier. Not infected. A person. I heard the scraping at the back door around dusk. At first, I thought it was wind. Branches, maybe. But then it came again. Slower. Rhythmic. Like someone testing the frame. Then a whisper. Please. That's what I heard. Just once. Not a shout. Not a demand. Just a whisper. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I kept the lights off, hand on the crowbar I keep taped under the desk. Then it stopped. I waited an hour before checking the door. No one was there. Just 2 handprints smudged on the glass. Small hands. A kid, maybe. Or someone young. But that's the thing now. You don't know what's human anymore. And what's a trick. I wanted to open it. God, I did. But you only get one mistake out here. One time you trust the wrong voice, and you're gone. To the girl out there, if it was you, I'm sorry. I hope you found shelter. Or maybe you were never there. Maybe my mind's playing with me. That's happening more lately. I thought I saw Ryan again, on the road by the Dollar Mart. Same jacket, same walk. For a second I nearly ran to him. Then he turned, and his face was gone. Just red. Like someone peeled it away. I stood there and watched as he sprinted down the hill on all 4s like an animal. Like a dog chasing a scent. It wasn't Ryan. But the body remembered how to move like him. There's something inside this virus that mimics more than biology. It mimics memory, movement, habits, the way a person used to walk, or gesture, or scratch their chin. It stays. like the body's replaying footage on a loop while the soul is long gone. I read a journal entry from a doctor who used to work at a trauma center in Lexington. Her name was Dr. Monroe. She left pages taped to the front of the hospital when they evacuated. A lot of it was gibberish by the end. Shaky handwriting, repeated words, but one line stood out. She wrote, "The virus doesn't kill. It replaces." That line stuck in my throat like a bone. It replaces. What does that mean? Are they still in there, buried beneath the fire? Or is what we're seeing just a shell, some meat puppet driven by chemical rage? Does it matter? I don't think there's a cure coming. I don't think anyone's working on one anymore. I haven't heard a government broadcast in 12 days. Not even a pre-recorded emergency loop. That means whoever was manning the national lines, they're gone. There's still one military signal I sometimes catch, out of Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. They cycle the same warning every 4 hours. Do not engage. Do not approach. Avoid large population centers. If infected, isolate. If surrounded, do not call for extraction. There is no extraction. No extraction. They used to say, help is on the way. Now they say, you're on your own. I wonder how long those loops will keep playing after everyone's gone. Maybe that's all we'll leave behind, our warnings. I got a shortwave ping from someone north of here. Said their name was Jonah. Lives near the Cumberland Falls. He said the town went quiet last week. Everyone gone. Just empty houses, doors left open. Not a sound. He said he found a woman inside one of them. Alive, but not moving. Sitting at the kitchen table with a shotgun under her chin and a photograph in her lap. She hadn't pulled the trigger. She was just sitting there, waiting. He didn't say anything to her, just left food on the porch and walked away. Jonah said something else too, something I haven't stopped thinking about. He said, "We don't die from the virus. We die from the silence. That's why I'm here, why I'm still talking. If I stop, the silence wins. If you're listening, don't let it win. Play music, even if it's out of tune. Sing, even if your voice shakes. Talk to the walls if you have to. Let the world know you're still here. Let the infected hear you and know we haven't disappeared yet. Let the living find your voice like a rope in the dark. We're more than what we've become. We are still here. I am still here." This is Jet Harrington, Ashpine, Kentucky, 104.7 FM. Still on air, still alive. Call in. Tell me something true. I don't know what day it is anymore. I mean, I know it's probably still July. The heat's too thick to be anything else. I can feel it sitting in my chest like smoke that never clears. The calendar's useless. The clocks are mostly wrong. Time out here doesn't move the way it used to. You sleep when it's quiet, eat when you find something, speak when the signal holds. Everything else is guesswork. I think it's been a month since the last working convoy passed through town. I saw it from the tower window. 2 flatbeds, 1 military truck, all of them moving slow, lights off, tires crunching on gravel like they didn't want to be noticed. No one stopped. No one shouted. Just kept driving west like they had somewhere to be, or maybe just somewhere better to die. I waved. I don't think anyone saw me. I don't know why I expected them to. Earlier this afternoon, a hawk landed on the roof vent, just sat there, wings folded, staring down through the glass slit above the studio. I stayed quiet, watched it watch me. It stayed for 10 minutes, maybe more. Then it shrieked once, loud, sharp, violent, and took off into the smoke-gray sky. Haven't heard birds in a while. Not real ones anyway. Whatever's happening to the animals, it's changing them too. Maybe not in the same way. But something's off. Less noise, less movement. Like they're hiding. Or maybe they've just gone. I don't blame them. If I had wings, I'd be gone too. Had a message come through on UHF earlier. Scratchy, almost swallowed in the static, but I caught it. A man. Sounded old, maybe 60, maybe older. Called himself Bishop. Didn't say where he was, just that he was on a mountain. That's it. Just the mountain. He said something I wrote down. Said, "The virus eats the part of you that hesitates. What's left is what you never wanted to become." I've been thinking about that for hours now. The part that hesitates. We used to say that hesitation could get you killed. In a fight, in a fire, on the job. But now, hesitation is all we have left to prove we're still human. That pause, that breath before pulling a trigger, that moment of doubt before you bolt a door shut behind you. If we lose that, we're no different than them. I think that's what scares me the most. Not the virus itself, but what it reveals. What it peels back. I remember when Ryan was still alive, back before this, years back. He told me the scariest thing he ever saw wasn't a burning house or a car wreck. It was a man standing perfectly still after doing something unforgivable. No emotion, no fear, just stillness. That's what this virus makes. Stillness before the sprint. I got a call this morning. The line held long enough for 30 seconds. Barely. It was a woman. Her voice was cracking, desperate, frantic. She said her name was Tanya. She was trapped in a grocery store walk-in freezer with 2 kids. Said they'd locked themselves in when the store was overrun. She said it's cold. Too cold. They're rationing chocolate bars and juice boxes. Nothing else left. She didn't ask for help. She didn't even ask for rescue. She just wanted to be heard. She said, "If this is it, I want someone to know we didn't run." We stayed. We stayed human. Then the line dropped. "Tanya, if you're still out there, you are not forgotten. I wrote your name down. All 3 of you. I'm going to say it every day until the signal dies. Tanya, Luca, Ellie, you are still human. You are still here. I hope you find a way out. I hope you last another day. I hope your voice finds its way back to me. I don't care how many infected fill the streets. We still matter. We still have names. That's something the virus can't take. Not really. I've started whispering names at night. Like a prayer. Like a list I don't want to forget. Not because I think someone's listening, but because silence has a way of erasing people. And I won't let that happen. Not while I've got breath. Not while I've got this mic. Jonah from Cumberland Falls. Naomi from West Virginia. Raoul and his solar rig in Ohio. Benny in the Red River Woods. Callie in Crossville. Layla and her little brother. Tanya. Luca. Ellie. You're all still part of this world, whether the world remembers or not. Tonight, I lit a candle for the first time in weeks. Not for warmth, not for light. Just because I needed something that didn't hum, or buzz, or flicker like it was dying. It sat on the console for a while, burning quiet. No scent, No color, just flame. Watching it made me feel like I was back in church when I was a kid. It didn't last long, just enough to give the room a different kind of silence, a better one, a softer one. I've got 2 more candles left. I'm saving them. I don't know for what yet. Maybe something worth remembering. Or maybe for the moment I can't speak anymore. That's what we're all counting down to, right? That last broadcast, that last breath, that last flicker before the dark takes over. But not tonight. Tonight the mic is still on. The airwaves still carry. And somewhere out there, I believe someone is still listening. If you are, don't give up. I know it's easy to say that when I've got 4 walls and a lock on the door. But I mean it. Don't give up. Not on your people. Not on your voice. Not on the part of you that still hesitates. The part that still feels pain. Still feels love. Still whispers names in the dark. This is Jet Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still on air. Still alive. I found a watch this morning. One of those old wind-up kinds with a cracked leather band and no backlight. It was in a jacket I grabbed off the fence behind the station. One of the ones I used to wear when I thought this would pass. When I thought I'd need warmth more than silence. It still ticks. Not in sync with anything I can trust, but it ticks. Something about that sound made me stop. Just stand there in the doorway for a while, holding the weight of it in my palm, listening to that steady tick, 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 like the world wasn't broken, like the rules still applied. I strapped it to my wrist. It's wrong, probably. 15 minutes ahead, maybe 20 behind. Doesn't matter. It gives me something to argue with, something to anchor to, something that doesn't scream or rot or disappear. The infected were close again last night. Real close. I heard one of them scraping its nails across the edge of the satellite dish on the roof. Just circling, like it knew the signal was still alive in here. I cut the mic, dimmed the board, laid flat on the floor for nearly 2 hours, afraid even my heartbeat might echo too loud. Then, out of nowhere, nothing. It just stopped. No scream. No sprint. No sound at all. Like it vanished into the wind. I waited another hour before I moved. My legs were numb. I crawled to the board, flipped the main switch, and whispered one word into the mic. Still here. That's all I said. That's all I needed to say. I've been rationing the fuel again. Generator's only running 2 hours a day now. Enough to charge the comms, push the signal out, warm a can of something. After that, it's back to dark and waiting. There's a gas station 10 miles north. Closed up. Doors chained. Last time I checked, the tanks were dry. But behind the station, there's a maintenance shed. No lock. Inside, 4 5-gallon drums. Smelled like diesel. I didn't take them then. Figured someone else might need them more. Now? I don't know. Might be time. I don't like leaving the station. Not because I'm afraid. Well, I am. But because this place is all that's left of me. It's where I saw the world end. And it's where I kept talking after it did. But even the safe places rot if you don't move. If you don't feed the machine. Got a call just before sunset. Real weak signal. Thought it was a storm pattern at first. But then it cleared up just enough to hear a man's voice. Shaky. Deep. Like he hadn't spoken in days. He said his name was Devin. He was calling from the top of a fire tower somewhere in Virginia. Didn't say the town. said it didn't matter anymore. He said the tower gave him view over 3 counties, trees, hills, roads. He'd been logging movement, tracking clusters, marking where the infected go. He said, they follow noise, but not all noise, rhythmic noise, repetition. I asked him what he meant. He said he ran a test, banged a wrench against a rail in steady intervals, 1 beat per second. After 4 minutes, a group emerged from the woods below, silent, sprinting, straight toward the base of the tower. He switched to a different rhythm, 2 fast knocks, then a pause. Nothing came. He repeated the test with different tools, different surfaces. Same result. Steady sound draws them. Chaos confuses them, he said. Then the line went dead. Devin, if you're still up there, keep sending reports. You're seeing patterns the rest of us can't. We need eyes like yours. We need hope like yours. I never thought sound would become the enemy, but it makes sense. Before all this, we filled the world with rhythm, engines, music, speech, laughter, heartbeats. Now we live in offbeats, stutters, silence, the gaps between. Got another shortwave burst an hour ago. This one from a girl named Mika. She said she's 15, hiding in a museum basement with her uncle near Nashville. Said the upper floors are sealed, exhibits left covered in dust. She spends her days reading plaques and descriptions out loud. Said she does it to remind herself that people used to make things, used to build and tell stories. She said, I like the dinosaur bones. They don't scream. Then she laughed. Just once, but it was the kind of laugh that sticks with you. I don't know how long she's been down there. She said her uncle's sick. Not infected, just weak. Not eating much, sleeping a lot. She doesn't know what to do. I told her what I know. Peanut butter lasts forever, and old vending machines sometimes still have crackers in them if you break the top. I told her, read out loud, every day. Let the bones hear you. Mika, if you can hear me now, you're doing better than most. You're surviving. You're remembering. You're still human. Don't stop. Read them all. Name every fossil. Describe every painting. Make that basement a classroom. Make it a world. That's how we win. Not by fighting, but by remembering. By keeping what they forgot. I've been thinking about the word normal a lot lately. What it used to mean. What it will never mean again. It used to be coffee in the morning and static on the TV when the news came on. It used to be arguments about parking and birthday candles you couldn't blow out on the first try. It used to be neighbors who waved and grocery lists written in pencil. Now, normal is a broadcast that still runs. Normal is a voice in the dark. Normal is remembering your name when no one else does. My name is Jet Harrington. I remember mine. I remember yours. I will keep saying it until the sky falls. Today, I tried to walk 5 miles and nearly passed out halfway through. Used to be nothing. Used to jog 10 every Sunday just to sweat the stress out. That feels like someone else's life now. Someone with sneakers that didn't have blood on them and knees that didn't tremble when the wind blew wrong. I made it 2.5 before I had to sit behind a collapsed billboard. Something had clawed it down. Or maybe a storm got it. Either way, the wood was cracked through the center, and someone had spray painted over the wreckage. We stayed too long. It was dry, weeks old, maybe more. I sat under that sign for an hour, just breathing, just thinking about what that meant. How long is too long, exactly? How long can you stay in one place before it turns on you? Before you start to hear the building creak like it's whispering your name? Before your own thoughts start to feel like something else is thinking them first? I used to think staying put was the smart move. Board up, lock down, keep the noise down and ride the storm out. But now, I don't know. Now I think maybe the people who kept moving, the ones with scraped up boots and blistered feet, they understood something I didn't. Stillness is a trap. Stillness gets you noticed. Movement keeps you alive. I made it to the gas station, the one I told you about. The drums were still there. All 4. One had a hole rusted through. 2 were half full. The last one, almost topped off. I rolled it 3 miles back before I had to stash it under an old church awning. Too exposed. Too quiet. I'll go back for it tomorrow if I can. While I was out there, I saw something strange. I was coming down 4th Street, what used to be the main strip through town. Stores boarded up, street signs rusting sideways, and in the middle of it all, a piano, just sitting there in the crosswalk, upright. Black lacquer peeling in strips, keys chipped and yellow. No one around, no footprints, no cart tracks, just that piano, like someone had dropped it from the sky. I didn't play it, didn't even touch it. But someone else had. I could tell. There were red smudges across the keys, like someone had tried to play with blood still drying on their fingers. Or maybe they were just leaving a message. A goodbye. A prayer. Back at the station now. My back hurts. Legs too. But I'm here. Still talking. Still listening. I had a call from a boy today. Said his name was Jordan. He was maybe 13, maybe younger. His voice hadn't cracked yet, but you could hear the weight in it. Like he'd aged 20 years overnight. He said he was walking alone. No family, no group. Just him and a dog he found outside a gas station in Virginia. He said the dog won't eat canned food unless he pretends to eat it first. Said it was the only thing that made her wag her tail anymore. Her name's Piper. Jordan said she saved his life 3 days ago, dragged him behind a fence when 2 infected came up the trail. He was asleep. She bit his arm, hard, to wake him up, left a bruise. He said it's the only thing he's thankful for. Then he asked me a question I wasn't ready for. He said, "How do I know if I'm going crazy?" I didn't have an answer. I told him this. If you're still asking that question, you're not. The crazy one stopped asking a long time ago. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he just whispered, "Okay. Thank you," and hung up. I've been sitting with that call for hours now. What do we say to kids born into this? What stories do we leave them? They'll never know what it was like to sit in a movie theater with a tub of popcorn too big for your lap, or fall asleep in the back seat while your parents argued about which highway exit had the best coffee. They won't know street lights or classroom bells or the smell of fresh pavement on a summer day. They'll know footsteps in the dark. They'll know how to make a knife from scrap. They'll know how long a body takes to stop twitching after it falls. But they won't know us. Not unless we tell them. That's what this mic is for. Not just to warn. Not just to name names. But to leave something behind. A record. A memory. A map back to what mattered. I've started saying grace before I eat. Not because I believe someone's listening, but because the pause helps. The silence between the words. The moment where I remember I'm still here. I say thank you, even when I'm eating cold beans from a dented can. Because one day I won't be, and the beans won't matter, but the grace will. This is Jet Harrington, still human, still breathing, still yours. I had a dream last night that I was in a diner, one of those old ones with the red vinyl booths and the smell of burnt coffee stuck to the walls. The jukebox was playing some old Patsy Cline song. My boots were sticking to the tile floor. Everything felt normal. Ryan was there, sitting across from me, stirring sugar into his coffee the way he always did. Way too much. He smiled at me like nothing had happened, like there weren't monsters tearing through towns or screams in the night, or blood drying in the corners of old buildings. I asked him where he'd been. He didn't answer. He just looked at me with that smile, leaned in, and said, "You should leave the mic on." Then I woke up, sweating, heart racing, no power, no sound, just the low hum of something moving outside the studio. I haven't gone to the roof yet. I don't need to. I know what's out there. I can feel it in the walls. There's an itch in the air when they're close, like static crawling under your skin. You learn to feel it, like a storm coming through your bones. I've been thinking about Ryan a lot lately, more than usual. It's not guilt anymore. It's something else. A need, maybe, to keep part of him with me, to say his name out loud when the rest of the world's gone quiet. Ryan Harrington, firefighter, big brother, bad at math, brave to a fault, thought he could save everyone. He didn't get a funeral, no marker, no eulogy, just the sound of me locking the door behind him and walking away. This is the eulogy now. This broadcast, these words, this whisper into the dark. I heard a new voice this morning. Woman. Calm. Older. Clear signal too. Must have had a proper antenna. She said her name was Dr. Carla Voss. Said she used to work with infectious diseases out of Colorado Springs. Said she'd been tracking the virus since day one. She said it wasn't natural. I froze when she said it. Sat up straight. Turned every dial on the board to full. She said it again. This was designed. Her voice didn't shake. She didn't sound afraid. Just tired. She said the virus targets the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, that it floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline, but not in a normal way, in a way that bypasses all the body's safety nets. It overrides pain, overrides thought, destroys language centers, but leaves muscle memory intact. She called it neurological hijacking. She said it wasn't meant to last this long, that it burns itself out eventually, that the infected decay fast, maybe 10 days before their bodies give out completely. But that's not the point. The point is how fast it spreads before that happens, how quickly a single scream can become a town falling. She said the delivery method had to be something airborne, something that moved ahead of the visible cases, like a warning shot no one heard. And then she said this. There was a test run before this, in a different region, smaller scale. It was contained, but someone pushed it further. Then the line cut. Dr. Voss, if you're out there, please call back. I know you're risking everything to speak, but we need to know. Someone out there is still listening. Someone out there needs the truth. Even if it doesn't save us. Even if all it does is help us understand what killed us. I stepped outside earlier, just for a moment. Sun was high, sky was pale, No clouds, no planes, no noise. I used to hear trains from here. They haven't run in weeks. No horns, no wheels. I remember once, when I was 8, I stood at the crossing by the grocery store and counted train cars for fun. Got to 72 before the caboose rolled by. I told Ryan about it that night, and he said, "That's nothing. I saw one with 90 last week." I believed him. He always had to one-up me. It's funny what you remember when there's nothing else left. Memory becomes company. Story becomes warmth. I got a letter today. A real letter. Someone must have slipped it under the door last night. No name. Just folded paper and black ink. It read, "We hear you. We are alive. Your voice is our map. Keep talking." That was it. No return address. No footsteps. No sign. Just that message. I stared at it for hours. Read it 10 times. Maybe 20. Held it like it was made of gold. I don't know who you are, but thank you. You made me feel human again. Made me feel like this mic isn't a tombstone. Made me feel like maybe, just maybe, this matters. To whoever wrote that, I will keep talking. I swear it. I will talk until my voice fails, until the power's gone, until I'm nothing but dust and breath and memory, because if even one person is out there, then silence is the enemy. Not the infected, not the collapse, not even death. Silence. And I will not give it the last word. This is Jet Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still alive, still listening, still yours. I haven't seen the stars in weeks. Not sure if it's the smoke or the clouds or just something in the air, but the sky hasn't been clear since the second outbreak wave. The kind of dark we get now feels thicker, like the night's not just absence of light, but something alive, something breathing, watching. I tried to spot constellations through the glass up top. Nothing. No Orion. No North Star. Just black. It messes with your sense of direction. Without stars, every road feels wrong. Every hill looks unfamiliar. You can't trust your gut anymore. You just have to keep walking and hope you're not circling back. It's been quiet again. Not just the kind of quiet where people stop calling, but the kind where the world feels paused. No movement, no noise, no static. Like something big is about to shift. That kind of quiet always comes before the scream. I had to use the backup transmitter earlier. Main tower's been acting up. Not sure if it's the wiring or the storm that blew through last night, but the signal kept dipping. So I flipped the old manual switch, the one that routes through the emergency band. It hums differently, lower, like it's groaning under the weight of being remembered. But it worked. I got a reply from someone I didn't expect. Her name's Isla, from Memphis. She used to be a studio technician. Said she recognized the way I signed off. Said she used to hear me late at night on the back channels, back when I was covering local traffic and music listings and shouting out birthday parties in towns no one remembered. She said she remembers my voice from before. That hit me hard. Before. Such a small word. Such a big weight. Isla said she's living in the parking garage of an old hotel. 5th floor. Said higher up feels safer, though the stairwells make it hard to sleep. She's blocked the doors with vending machines and uses rainwater from a cracked skylight to fill old Sprite bottles. She broadcasts short bursts every day at noon. Says she reads poetry into the static. doesn't care if anyone hears it. She does it for her own sanity. Today, she read something I hadn't heard since high school. Do not go gentle into that good night. You know the rest. I sat there with my eyes closed, listening to her voice warble through the distortion. She read the whole thing. Then the signal cut out. Like it was only meant for that moment. That's all we get now. Moments. Little pieces of human noise in a world that's gone hollow. And when they're gone, it's like they never happened. But I'm keeping them, all of them, writing them down in this ledger. It's just a busted legal pad now, pages curling from the heat. But it's mine. Names, places, messages, warnings. If I go quiet, maybe someone else can pick it up. Maybe someone can follow the map we're all making without knowing it. I had to go back for the fuel drum this morning. Did it before the sun got high? Before the infected started wandering the hills again? I dragged it 2 miles before my arms gave out. Ended up stashing it behind the ruins of an old pet store. Place still smells like cedar chips and dried out dog food. There were claw marks on the door, but nothing inside. No movement. No sound. Except one thing. A bird. Alive. Caged. Dirty. But breathing. Parakeet, I think. Green and blue. Sitting on its perch like it was waiting for someone. It saw me. Tilted its head. Didn't chirp. Didn't fly. Just looked. And then, out of nowhere, it said, "Good morning." Just like that. Clear as a bell. Good morning. My knees nearly gave out. It must have heard that phrase 1,000 times back when people came to feed it. Some echo of a world that doesn't exist anymore, trapped in the throat of a bird too stubborn to die. I left the cage open, told it could go if it wanted, but it stayed. Maybe it doesn't know the world outside is worse than a cage. Maybe we're not so different. Maybe we're all just parroting words we heard when we were still safe, hoping someone's still listening. There's a phrase I keep hearing in the messages people leave me. Doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter how broken the signal is. They all say it. We're still here. Not, we're alive. Not, we're okay. Just, we're here. That matters, more than anything, because you don't need to be whole to matter. You don't need to be safe to speak. You don't need to have a plan or a cure or a map. You just need to still be here, still breathing, still aware of the sky above you and the ground below, still willing to speak your name into the dark. So if you're listening right now, wherever you are, say your name. Whisper it if you have to. Write it in the dirt. Scratch it into wood. Tell the world I am still here. You don't need a mic to be remembered. You don't need a signal to matter. You just need to not disappear. This is Jet Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. I'm still here. I hear you. I hear all of you. There's a kind of hunger that doesn't come from the stomach. It starts in your spine, in the hollow space between your ribs. It's not about food, not really. It's about needing something to fill the silence, something solid in a world where nothing stays still, where everything slips out from under you. I've been feeling that more these past few days, that crawling emptiness. Not from the lack of canned beans or stale crackers or bottled water that smells faintly of rubber hose, but from the absence of something I can't quite name, a kind of spiritual erosion, like your soul's been rubbed raw by the wind, You lose your appetite for hope before you lose your appetite for calories. And once that hope shrivels up, it gets real easy to start counting down your own breaths. This morning, I stood in the back hallway of the station, staring at the emergency exit for nearly 10 minutes. Just looking at it. It's warped now. Humidity's gotten into the frame, made it swell, stick. You can't push it open without a fight. But that wasn't what stopped me. It was the question sitting behind it, humming like a wasp behind glass. What if you opened that door and never came back? What if you just kept walking? I think about that sometimes. Not running, not surrendering, just walking away from all of this. Into the trees, into the quiet, into the place where nothing follows you, not even your name. But then I come back to this mic. Every time. Because it's the only thing louder than the silence inside my head. I said goodbye to the parakeet, the one I told you about, the little green and blue one I found in the busted pet store. I left the cage open, hoping it would fly off when it felt ready. But it never did. It just sat there, silent, still, like it was waiting for permission. This morning, when I checked on it, it was cold. Head bowed, feathers ruffled stiff, gone. Just like that, like it decided to leave the only way it could, quietly, without ceremony. I buried it behind the generator shed, next to the fence line, marked the spot with a piece of brick, and scratched a name into it. Echo. Not because it ever repeated what I said, but because that's what it felt like. A little echo of life in a world that stopped listening. I haven't heard from Dr. Voss again. No signal, no voice, nothing but a blank hiss where her transmission used to be. I've scanned every frequency, every band, every damn corner of this old board. It's like she vanished, like maybe she was never real at all, just another flicker in the static, another story my mind told me to feel less alone. But I don't think that's true. I heard her too clearly, too precisely. That voice wasn't imagined. It had weight, years, a kind of knowledge that only comes from someone who's spent most of their life staring at petri dishes and second-guessing humanity's worst mistakes. She said it wasn't natural, that the virus was made. And if that's true, if someone somewhere turned this nightmare into a project, if this whole collapse started with a line of code or a vial or a test tube, then maybe there's something worse than the infected out there. Maybe there's still someone watching, not helping, just watching, taking notes. I know how that sounds, like paranoia, like the kind of talk that gets scribbled on the walls of abandoned gas stations in dried blood and ash. But you spend long enough in the dark, and you start to see things differently. The human brain was never built for this much stillness. We're not wired for silence this sharp. We were made for movement, noise, interaction. Without it, the mind starts unraveling at the edges. You remember things out of order. You hear your name when no one's calling. You start talking to ghosts. And sometimes, worse, you start answering back. But not all ghosts are memories. Some are people you never met, voices you never saw the face behind, like a man named Owen who radioed in last night, somewhere around 2:40 a.m., when the generator was running low and I'd nearly fallen asleep with my forehead pressed against the board. His voice was gravel, deep, tired, with the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from running, it comes from carrying. He said he's been traveling on foot for 3 weeks straight. Started out in Chattanooga, lost everyone on the second day. He didn't say how, didn't need to. The silence in his breath said enough. He said he walks by night and sleeps by day, finds places where the birds still sing and sets his tarp down under trees that haven't burned. He's seen 50 infected, maybe more. He doesn't shoot unless he has to, doesn't light fires, doesn't stay anywhere longer than one night. He said, "The only way to beat this is to move like you're already dead. Then they don't smell you." I don't know if it's true, but he's still alive. That counts for something. Before the line cut, he said one more thing, real quiet, almost like he was embarrassed to say it. He said, "I talk to your voice when I walk. It helps me feel less like a ghost." That got to me, harder than I expected, because I've been feeling like a ghost too. A voice on a wire, a shape behind glass, something half real in a world full of rot and rust. But hearing him say that, hearing that I was still a tether to something solid, reminded me that this isn't just noise. It's survival, emotional survival. And right now, that might be the only kind left. There's a woman who writes messages on bed sheets and hangs them from the windows of a library 2 towns over. I haven't seen her face, don't know her name, but I've seen the sheets when I risk the rooftop. One said, "We are still here." Another, "No infected in the basement." Today there's a new one. I teach them to read by flashlight. I stared at it through binoculars until my eyes burned. Somewhere in that building, in the damp dark of a library basement, a woman is teaching children to read. Not to survive, not to fight, just to read. That's what we've got left. Not guns, not politics, not answers. Just little pockets of defiance. Acts of resistance so quiet they might as well be prayers. Lighting candles in bomb craters. Drawing constellations in the dirt with sticks. Teaching kids how to sound out letters while the world tears itself apart upstairs. If you're still out there, and I believe you are, don't underestimate what that means. You don't have to rebuild civilization. You just have to outlast the silence. You just have to show up again tomorrow. Speak your name. Share your food. Hold someone's hand without shaking. That's the rebellion now. That's the revolution. I'm still here, still talking, still writing names. This is Jet Harrington, 104.7 FM, Ash Pine, Kentucky. If you can hear me, you're not alone. If you can speak, you're still human. If you're afraid, that means you still have something worth losing. And if you're willing to hold on through the dark, even if your grip is weak, even if you feel like letting go, then that means the world hasn't won yet. Let's outlive it together. The rain started around midnight. Slow at first, almost delicate. Just the light tapping of droplets on rusted metal and broken glass. I remember lying there, half awake, thinking maybe it was someone walking across the gravel lot again. That's how far gone I am. Can't even tell the difference between rain and footsteps anymore. But it kept coming, steady, soft, like the sky was trying to whisper an apology for everything it had let happen. It's still coming down now, the kind of rain that seeps into your bones and makes the world smell like mold and old wood and lost time. I'm wrapped in a blanket I found last week in the back of an abandoned van down by the railroad tracks. It smells like gasoline and sweat, and something vaguely floral, maybe detergent from a life before. I don't care. It's warm. That's enough. I've been sitting here for the past 3 hours just listening to the rain, watching it trickle down the fogged-up glass of the broadcast booth. It makes patterns that don't mean anything, but I pretend they do. That's what most of this is now. Pretending something still has meaning, so I don't drown in the truth. There's no new word from the cities, No power signals, no satellite pings, no distant echoes from whatever's left of the East Coast. New York's been dark for weeks. DC's dead silent. I used to think we'd get something from Atlanta or Charlotte. Some last command center buried deep underground still pushing out orders. But if they're there, they're not talking to us anymore. And if they're not talking, they're either dead or they think we are. The truth is, I don't think there's a government anymore. I think what's left of it is scattered in bunkers, eating ration packs and whispering into secure lines that don't go anywhere. Or maybe they're watching, tracking, seeing who survives without help. I don't know what's worse, being forgotten or being observed like an experiment gone wrong. I used to get mad thinking about it. Now I just get tired. Had a strange moment this morning, just before dawn. I went outside during a lull in the storm. Couldn't sleep, couldn't think. Just needed to move. I walked to the edge of the property where the fence curls around the collapsed satellite dish. It's tangled in vines now, half sunk into the ground like the earth is trying to reclaim it. And I saw something I still don't understand. There was a child standing just beyond the fence. Couldn't have been older than 7 or 8, barefoot, wearing a yellow raincoat 2 sizes too big. Just standing there in the downpour, head tilted slightly to one side, like she was listening to something only she could hear. She didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. I called out. No answer. I took 1 step forward and she vanished. Not ran, not turned, just gone, like she'd never been there. I don't know if it was real. I want to say it was a hallucination, a trick of the light or the fog or my own exhausted brain. But part of me, some part I can't reason with, believes she was real and not infected, not screaming, just there, watching. Maybe she was a ghost, or maybe she was the last piece of my own memory trying to walk away before it broke. Either way, I haven't stopped thinking about her, about that yellow coat, about how strange it is that a child could stand still in the rain without trembling, while grown men like me fall apart just thinking about tomorrow. I've started talking to the photos again. I know how that sounds, but it helps. There are 4 taped to the wall behind the mic. Old ones, creased at the edges, sun-bleached from years on the fridge door. One of them's of Ryan and me at the county fair. He's holding a corn dog. I've got cotton candy all over my face. We're laughing like idiots. That was the summer before he joined the academy. The last time we were just kids, not responsibilities. Another one's of Mom, blurry, mid-laugh, holding a mug with both hands like she always did. I used to hate that photo. Thought it was unflattering. Now it's the only version of her I remember clearly. The other 2 are faces I don't know. Someone left them here. Maybe the crew that ran this station before me. Maybe one of the engineers. I found them in a drawer and couldn't bring myself to throw them out. One's a young woman in a wedding dress, standing on a hill that doesn't exist anymore. The other's a group of teenagers, arms locked around each other's shoulders, frozen forever in a moment of unearned joy. I talk to them all now. Every night before the generator shuts down, I say their names if I know them. I give names to the ones I don't. I tell them what I saw that day, what I heard, what I dreamed, and I ask them to remember for me in case I can't anymore, because memory is a muscle, and mine is starting to fail. There's a part of me that wants to make this mic a confession booth, to say out loud every mistake I've made, every chance I didn't take, every time I looked away when I should have helped. but I think there's enough grief in the air already. So instead, I'm going to use this time to say something else. To the man in the RV off Route 61 who left a bag of apples outside my fence. I saw you. I heard your footsteps. Thank you. I ate one this morning, and I swear it was the sweetest thing I've tasted in years. To Isla in Memphis, your poetry saved me last night. I repeated those lines to myself when the wind howled against the door like fists. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. I heard it in your voice, even when the signal cracked. To Mika and her uncle in the Nashville Museum, keep reading. Those bones don't scream, but I bet they're listening. And if I ever make it out that way, I'll bring batteries and we'll read together. To the world, if it's still out there, don't turn away from the pain. Don't numb it. Don't deny it. Let it shape you. Let it make you kinder. We've lost a lot, but kindness is free. And as long as we can still give it, as long as we still remember what it feels like, then the rage hasn't won. Not yet. This is Jet Harrington. Still here. Still breathing. Still hoping, even when it hurts. If you're out there, send me a word, a name, a story, anything. Because even now, I believe we can still matter. Something happened today. Not a call, not a voice, not a signal from some distant tower barely clinging to life. Something here. Something I could touch, taste, smell. A shift in the air that reminded me I'm still living in a body, not just existing as a voice behind a microphone. It started this morning, just after the sun cracked through a hole in the cloud cover, turning the radio tower into a shadow that stretched halfway across the parking lot. I went out to check the fuel barrel I stashed by the generator shack, and there, on the concrete slab, right where the rain usually puddles, footprints, bare ones, small, too small for a grown man, not wide enough for boots, just feet, delicate, pressed into the thin layer of mud, pointing toward the station and then away. I stood there staring at them for so long I forgot to breathe. I wanted to convince myself they were old, from some long-gone refugee who passed through before the storms started. But they were fresh, still wet at the edges, still soft in the center. The prints stopped 10 feet from the door. No scuff marks, no heel drag, no signs of panic. Whoever it was, they were calm. Or calculated. Maybe both. The part that rattles me isn't that someone came that close. It's that they didn't knock. Didn't say anything. Didn't try to come in. They stood there. Waited. Watched. And then walked away. I don't know what that means. But I feel it in my stomach like a swallowed stone. Something is moving in the woods. Something is watching. Maybe it's human. Maybe not. Maybe it's what's left of a child. Maybe it's the beginning of something new. Either way, I didn't sleep. I locked the door with both latches and pushed the desk against it, and left the radio running low overnight, not broadcasting, just letting the hum fill the room like a heartbeat I could lean against. I think that's why I'm still sane. Or close to it. That hum. That tiny sound that proves something's working. I sat down a few hours ago and started writing. Not a log. Not a survival tip. A letter. To no one. To everyone. Just a letter in case I don't wake up tomorrow. In case those footsteps come back and they decide they're done being quiet. I wrote it in pen, blue ink, shaky lines, on the back of an old invoice for a satellite repair we never got done. I told whoever finds it that this place was more than a studio, that it was a lifeline, a lighthouse, a memory, that the voice they heard wasn't some cold government loop or an automated warning system. It was a man, a scared, tired, bleeding man, trying to keep something alive just a little longer. I folded that note and tucked it behind the circuit panel under the desk, right next to Ryan's badge, the one I found in his duffel bag after I locked him in the storage closet and barricaded the door. I still haven't moved the furniture from in front of that door. Still haven't looked. It's been over a month, maybe longer. I know what's on the other side, and I'm not ready to face it. Not because I'm scared of what he's become, but because I'm scared of what I'll do when I see it. Part of me wants to open that door and let whatever's left of him out. Just end it. Finish what I couldn't finish before. But another part, the louder part, keeps whispering, not yet. As long as the door stays closed, there's still a piece of my brother in this world, even if it's just bones and rage and shadow. I think we all carry something like that now. A locked door, a body we didn't bury, a word we didn't say when we still had the chance. Regret is a heavy thing, but it's also a compass. It points us toward the things we can still fix, the people we can still save, even if that list is down to 1 or 2 names scribbled in the margins of a notebook. I got a brief signal earlier from someone calling herself Northwind. Just that name. No location. No explanation. Just the sound of wind chimes behind her voice and the soft crackle of fire. She said she runs a relay tower out of a cave system somewhere in Montana. Said she uses mirrors to bounce solar charge into the batteries. Said she hasn't seen another living person in 14 days. Then she said this: "The wind speaks louder than the infected. It carries things further than a scream ever could." I don't know what that means exactly, but it stuck with me. Some words do that. They land deep, even if you don't know why. I hope she calls back. I hope anyone does. The hardest part of all this isn't the hunger or the fear. It's the waiting. It's the wondering if your next breath will be the one no one remembers. If the last thing you ever say will be swallowed by static. I told someone once, years ago, that I wanted to be remembered as a voice that mattered. Not famous, not powerful, just heard. I don't know if I'll get that, but I'm trying. Every time I press this button, every time I lean toward this mic and speak into the dark, if this is the last generation of human memory, let it be one that remembers kindness, that remembers laughter, that remembers the sound of rain and the warmth of a stranger's voice across a broken frequency. Let it remember that we didn't go quiet. Let it remember that some of us stayed human all the way to the end. This is Jet Harrington. Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still on air, still hoping, still writing the names. I used to think the hardest part would be the dying. The teeth, the blood, the running. I imagined it over and over during the first few days. What it would feel like to be caught, pulled down by hands that don't feel pain, teeth that don't hesitate. I pictured it 100 different ways, trying to prepare myself. Maybe it'd be fast. Maybe the shock would cancel the agony. Maybe I'd never even know when the world slipped away. But now, after everything, I've learned something worse. The hardest part isn't dying. It's watching the world continue without you. It's watching it change into something you don't recognize anymore. Something sharp and cruel and unspoken. The dying is simple. It's the unliving that hurts. You sit in a dark room, waiting for a voice. You stare at doorways like they're mouths waiting to swallow you. You find a can of soup, and you feel hope. You hear a footstep, and you feel terror. Then you feel guilt for being alive when so many better people aren't. That's what this has become. A long, slow unraveling of what it means to be human. I tried to clean up the main room today, just to do something that felt normal. I swept the floor, stacked old paperwork into piles, dusted off the soundboard, even though it doesn't care if it's covered in grime, found a photo under the file cabinet, 3 men and a woman, laughing around a birthday cake. Someone wrote Summer 2009 in blue marker on the back. I don't know who they are, but I taped the picture to the console. 4 smiling faces in a world that used to be loud, a world that used to celebrate. I don't think we'll ever have birthdays again, not like before. Cakes, candles, parties, people pretending to be surprised when they aren't. Now, if someone survives another year, they just go quiet. They hold it like a secret, because living this long feels selfish, like you stole something from someone who didn't make it. That's what survival is now, borrowing time that doesn't belong to you. And yet, there are still stories, still voices, still people scratching truth into the dirt so the silence doesn't win. I got a broadcast last night, weak, fading, but real. A woman's voice reading scripture through static. Psalms, I think. Her voice was raspy but certain, the way someone sounds when they've had every reason to stop believing and still choose to believe anyway. She didn't say her name, didn't say where she was. She just read. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And on and on. I sat there with my eyes closed, letting the words soak into the walls. Not because I'm religious, I stopped praying a long time ago, but because something in her voice felt familiar. Not like someone I knew, like something I missed, something I'd forgotten. I didn't realize I was crying until the candle beside me went out. It's strange how grief comes now, not in floods, in flashes, a sound, a smell, a single line of scripture read by a stranger in a ruined world. It hits you sideways, sneaks into your lungs when you're not watching, and all you can do is sit still and let it pass. I think about food less now. Hunger fades after a while. The body adapts. But what doesn't fade is the need for presence, for proof that you exist. I used to leave my boots in the same spot every night, just so I'd see them in the morning and remember I had a purpose. Now I write the date on the glass with a piece of chalk, not because the date matters, but because the motion of writing still feels like resistance. I don't know what the weather is like where you are. Here, it's fog, thick and low, like the earth is trying to smother itself. The sound doesn't carry the same in fog. It folds back on itself, presses down. I hear the generator groaning, and it feels like it's coming from underground. I tried yelling today, just once, just to see. My own voice startled me. It bounced off the station wall and came back smaller, like a ghost of itself. That's what we're becoming. Ghosts before death. Phantoms of memory. Shadows of what we once meant. But then, today, something impossible happened. Someone knocked. 3 taps, sharp, deliberate, on the back service door. The one I keep bolted shut with rebar and a sheet of plywood. I froze. Didn't breathe. Didn't speak. Just sat there in the middle of the floor, eyes on the ceiling, listening. 3 knocks. That's it. Not pounding. Not the frenzied scratching of the infected. Just knocks. Then silence. I waited 10 minutes. Then 20. Finally, I pulled the crowbar from under the board and crept to the door, slow as death. There was no one there, just the wind, brushing through the grass like it was laughing at me, but at my feet, pushed through the crack beneath the door, a page, folded, yellowed, torn from a notebook. On it, one sentence. The echo doesn't end with the voice. No signature, no symbols, just that. A message for me, a warning, a poem. I don't know, but I haven't put it down since. It's in my lap now, pressed flat. I keep reading it over and over. The echo doesn't end with the voice. Maybe that's true. Maybe this station will keep humming long after I'm gone. Maybe the static will carry something of me. A tone. A pause. A memory someone didn't mean to hear, but hears anyway. Maybe the rage won't take everything. Maybe there's still a future where someone finds this place and hears what I'm saying now. And maybe that's all I've ever wanted. Not a rescue. Not a cure. Just a moment where someone hears me and feels a little less alone. This is Jet Harrington. Ash Pine. 104.7 FM. Still alive. Still whispering into the dark. Still waiting for the next knock. There are sounds I still hear in my dreams. Not screams, not sirens, not the guttural, wet-throated growl of something no longer human tearing through a hallway. Number. The sounds that come back when I sleep are soft, familiar, a kettle boiling in the kitchen, the click of a seatbelt, the shuffle of socks on a hardwood floor. Sounds so ordinary, so painfully forgettable in a world that used to be alive, that I didn't even know I loved them until they were gone. Now they haunt me. Now they're the lullabies my brain replays when the dark gets too heavy to carry. And when I wake up, there's nothing, just silence, and the memory of sounds that don't exist anymore. I think part of surviving this long means learning to grieve things you can't bury. You don't get to line up chairs and wear black and hold a folded flag in your lap anymore. You grieve in pieces, in breaths, in the way your hands shake when you touch something from the old world. A photo, a jacket, a book. You don't cry once and get it over with. You cry in increments, like rain dripping from a cracked gutter. You carry it. All of it. Even when it gets too heavy. Especially then. I haven't been eating much. Not for lack of food, though that's running low too. But because my stomach twists into knots every time I try. There's something about this quiet, this slow decay, that turns eating into guilt. I open a can, and I hear someone else's hunger echoing back at me. I chew slowly, staring at the same wall I've stared at for months, and I wonder if someone out there is starving while I'm finishing the last of the beans. I wonder if I deserve to eat when Layla might not be breathing anymore, or Benny, or Mika, or the girl who used to write poetry on the backs of museum brochures while her uncle slept in a chair made of history. I had to move the transmitter today. One of the bolts was rusting through and the wind nearly tore it down during last night's storm. It took me 4 hours and half a bottle of water to get the new anchor post secured. My hands are blistered. My back's a mess. But it's done. The signal should be stronger now, should reach further, should cut through more static. And all I kept thinking while I bolted that metal into the concrete was, who am I doing this for? Who's out there still tuning in, scanning through white noise and broken frequencies hoping to find my voice? Is it just habit now? Just duty? And then, just as I finished tightening the last bolt, I heard something from the hills. A voice, faint, thin, but there. It said my name, not Jet, not Harrington, not Radio Man, my full name. Jet Carter Harrington. I dropped the wrench. That voice. It wasn't angry. It wasn't infected. It wasn't anything I could place. But it knew me. And it was close. I climbed to the roof, eyes burning from the wind, and scanned the tree line with the binoculars. Nothing. Just swaying branches and shifting fog. No movement. No figures. Just the sound of wind through dead leaves and that echo bouncing around my ribs like a heartbeat I couldn't find. I didn't say anything back. I couldn't. I just waited. And after a minute, it said nothing else. It was gone. I haven't told anyone that story, not even the mic, until now. Because if I say it out loud, it becomes real. And if it's real, that means I'm not the only one who remembers who I used to be. That's what's starting to scare me. Not just the infected, not just the decay, but the memory of who I was before all this, and what might still be walking around with that memory, twisted into something else. I've heard the theories about the ones who don't fully turn, the ones who keep some part of themselves, the quiet infected, the observers. People whisper about them on CBs like they're myths. But I've seen them, just once, from a distance. They don't scream, they don't sprint, they watch. And sometimes, if the wind's just right, they speak. I don't know what's worse, if they're part of the virus or part of us. If what's left inside them is some flickering flame of the human mind, or just a well-rehearsed illusion. Either way, it chills me deeper than any scream. I got a broadcast from the Rockies today. A woman calling herself Dahlia. Probably not her real name, but I'm not asking questions. She says she's camped out on a fire lookout post, 30 feet above ground, where the infected can't climb. She described watching the valley below for days at a time, seeing patterns, clusters of movement, same routes, same hours. She thinks they're following residual heat trails. Said they come in waves, like blood pumping through a wound. She said they sleep, or something close to it. Not in the way we do. Not for rest. More like hibernation. Cooling down. Resetting. She's studying them. Not for science, for survival. Before she signed off, she said something I wrote down word for word. The virus may be blind, but it remembers where warmth once was. I think about that every time I light a fire, every time I breathe into my hands, every time I cry. I still don't know if I'm making it out of this, but I do know this. As long as the transmitter works, I'll keep speaking. As long as my hands can write, I'll keep logging names. As long as my heart keeps kicking against this cage of ribs, I'll keep waiting for one more call. This is Jet Carter Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still alive, still uncertain, still human. The wind is different tonight. Not stronger, not colder, just different. The kind of wind that feels like it's carrying something behind it. Not rain or dust or storm, but memory. There's this way it brushes through the broken window panes and rattles the loose vent above the generator room. It doesn't howl. It doesn't whistle. It presses, like it wants in. And as I sit here with the radio humming and the mic warm against my lips, I keep catching myself listening between the gusts, waiting for something to come crawling through the spaces between the air. A voice, a name, a sound I shouldn't be able to hear. There's a tree near the edge of the parking lot. Big one. Oak, maybe. It's always been there, as long as I've been broadcasting from this station. Even back before the outbreak, before the panic, before the world shriveled into what it is now, that tree was always just there, standing, watching. Like it didn't care who was in office or what was on the news or who got promoted or who died of what. That tree never changed. But now it's losing bark in wide spiral patterns, like something's been clawing at it, not randomly, with purpose, a winding, repeating motion, strip by strip, like a map being peeled into the wood grain. I ran my fingers across it today. The grooves were smooth, deliberate, deep. Something did that. Not a storm, not a deer. Something with hands. I don't know why that unnerves me more than the blood smears or the gnawed tire rubber out on Route 9. Maybe because it means they're thinking. Or maybe because it means they're remembering. Whatever it is, it's not mindless. Not anymore. This virus, it started as rage. That's what they called it. The rage. A word people could rally around. Simple. Terrifying. Easy to repeat on the news without having to explain it. Rage is clean. It fits in headlines. It sells fear. But what we're seeing now isn't rage. Rage burns fast. This learns. I haven't said that out loud until now, but I've known it. For weeks, I've seen it in their eyes, the few I've gotten close enough to study without dying, the way they fix on movement and adapt, the way they pause. That's what gives it away. A pause means thought. A pause means process. They're evolving. And we're not ready for that. Hell, most of us aren't ready for anything. I got a message today, taped to the handle of the emergency gate out back. Just 3 words carved into a strip of vinyl with what looked like the jagged edge of a soda can. We remember you. That's all it said. No name, no symbols, no signature. I stared at it for hours, still haven't taken it down. At first I thought maybe it was someone I'd helped, someone who heard the broadcast and found their way here. Maybe even someone I used to know. But then I started thinking, what if it wasn't a thank you? What if it was a warning? A declaration? What if something else remembers me? I haven't told anyone about the storage room. Not since I sealed it. Not since I heard the scratching stop. But today, when I walked past it, just for a moment, I heard breathing. Low, slow, not panicked, not hungry, just steady. Like someone asleep in a bed too small for their body. I didn't open the door. I don't think I ever will. I talked to a man named Roland earlier today. Shortwave connection. He's holed up in a train depot about 20 miles west of Knoxville. Said the power grid in that zone flickered for a full 7 seconds yesterday. Actual grid power. Not generator. Not solar. Said a streetlight blinked on outside the depot. Then it went black again. He said he wept when he saw it. Wept like a kid who'd just seen his father come back from the dead. It didn't mean anything. It didn't last. But it meant something. That's what we're holding on to now. Blips of hope. Tiny flickers. Someone lights a candle. Someone speaks a name. Someone says good morning out of habit when the sun cracks through the dust. That's what we are now. Not a nation. Not a species. A string of habits. Ghosts walking through old rituals, hoping they still matter. Roland asked me something before the signal dropped. He said, "Do you think the people who made this are still alive?" I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have an opinion, but because the question itself felt radioactive. Heavy. Like saying it aloud might summon them. And what would I say to them if they were listening? What do you say to the architects of your own destruction? Do you curse them? Thank them for showing you what matters? Beg them to undo it? I don't think there's an undo. I think whatever was unleashed has passed the point of return. But that doesn't mean we have. We can still choose. Still remember. Still tell each other that the sky once held stars and the dirt once smelled like life, and love wasn't a luxury. It was everywhere. I know there are people still listening, because I can feel you. In the pauses between transmissions. In the way the air shifts when I say your names. You are not forgotten. You are not gone. You are here. And I am here. This is Jet Carter Harrington. Ash Pine. 104.7 FM. Still breathing. Still waiting. Still believing in the echo. I watched the fog roll in over the ridge like it was something alive. It wasn't drifting or settling. It was moving, pouring in low across the ground like a slow, deliberate tide, thick enough that I could barely see the tips of the radio tower 30 feet up. And then I realized something strange. It wasn't touching the tree line. It stayed low, clinging to the ground and creeping along the gravel like it was searching for something. It didn't rise, didn't float, just hugged. I stood there with a wrench in my hand like that would protect me, trying to convince myself it was just weather, just mist, just nature doing what it does. But something deep in my chest knew better. It's a survival instinct you don't learn from books or drills. It's old, primal. It's the part of you that still remembers what it felt like to be hunted in the dark before fire and walls and names. I backed away slowly, didn't turn, didn't breathe too loud. Just walked until the shack door clicked behind me and the wind stopped clawing at the corners of the building. I locked it, triple-checked the bolts, sat down on the floor and stayed there for a long time. Didn't move. Just listened to the silence. And in that silence, I kept asking myself the same thing. Is it changing the land? Or is the land changing because of it? The virus isn't just eating people anymore. It's eating reality, eating the rules, the patterns. What used to make sense doesn't. What used to be safe isn't. I remember when forests were quiet but not dead. When stillness meant peace, not warning. Now, when the birds go silent and the wind shifts and the air gets heavy, you run. You don't wait for the reason. You go. Because whatever is coming doesn't need to explain itself to you. It doesn't need to roar. It just arrives, and if you're still there when it does, you don't get to tell the story. There's a woman I hear from every few nights. She won't give me her real name, but I know her voice. Low, gentle, always calm, even when she talks about the horrors. She says she's stationed near a collapsed town in Missouri, an old farming community that got overwhelmed in the first wave and never came back. She lives in what used to be a church basement, surrounded by walls made of limestone and quiet. She told me last night that something new is happening near her. Not louder, not bloodier, smarter. She says the infected have started ignoring traps, wire snares, pitfalls, even fire. They walk around them now. Not always. Not in groups, but one or two at a time, like they're learning, watching from behind trees and fences and door frames. She caught one standing in the aisle of the old chapel, head tilted toward the stained glass, not smashing it, not moving, just looking. And then it whispered something. She said she didn't catch the word. Could have been noise, could have been memory, could have been a prayer from a brain half melted by fever and chemicals and whatever rage is made of. but it chilled her to the core. And it chills me now, just retelling it. I think we might be seeing something we weren't meant to see. Not a virus, not a plague, but a shift. A hand pulling the curtain back on whatever was always just beyond our understanding. And we're not ready for it. How could we be? We made everything soft. We built cities and jobs and hashtags and plastic-wrapped fruit. We made an entire species forget what it means to listen to danger. And now danger doesn't growl anymore. It waits. It watches. It smiles through broken teeth while you pretend your flashlight still works. I found a journal today. It was in the glove box of a rusted-out pickup behind the station. Looked like the vehicle had been there for months. Vines through the wheels. Windows shattered. I almost didn't check it. But something made me pop the glove box open. Inside, wrapped in a Ziploc bag like someone wanted it to be found, was a little black spiral notebook. First page just said, "If you're reading this, it means I made it longer than they thought I would." The handwriting was uneven, but steady, pages full. No dates, just entries numbered in pencil. Entry 7 talked about a kid they met in a barn who hadn't spoken in 8 days, but carried a music box and wound it every night before sleep. Entry 12 described a man who'd painted hundreds of eyes on the inside walls of a storm cellar. Said he thought if he slept under all those eyes, he'd be safe. Entry 23 just said, "I think I saw my sister, but she died 6 months ago." And the last one, Entry 36, read, "If the virus learns to wait, we're done, because waiting is what we forgot. We forgot how to be still without fear, how to rest with one eye open and not lose our minds. If it figures out patience, it's already more human than we are." I didn't put the journal back. I brought it inside. It's next to me now, open on the desk. I've read those entries 5 times. Not because I needed information, but because I needed proof someone else saw what I've been seeing. We're not imagining it. The enemy isn't chaos anymore. It's focus. They're not hunting. They're watching. And they're not watching to kill. They're watching to learn. I know how that sounds. I know what it makes me sound like. But if you've seen what I've seen, if you've felt what I've felt behind your ribs when the fog rolls in and the static bends sideways through your headset, then you know I'm not lying. You know I'm not broken. I'm just awake. And being awake right now, that's a punishment in itself. But still, I speak. Because that's what we have left. This is Jet Carter Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still speaking. Still dreaming of a silence that doesn't mean death. Still fighting back with words. The mind starts playing tricks on you when you stop hearing your own voice echoed back in someone else's. It starts rearranging memories, rewriting moments, twisting details around until you can't quite tell which parts happened and which parts you just needed to believe happened. I know this because last night I sat in the hallway outside the old editing bay, looking through a crate of cassette tapes from the early 2000s. Public access interviews, community ads, lost segments that never made it to broadcast. And for a second, I heard my mother's voice in one of them, clear as sunlight through a kitchen window. She was laughing. That soft, half-caught breath she used to do when she told a joke and knew she wasn't going to make it to the punchline without cracking herself up first. But I knew she never recorded anything for this station. She didn't even like me working here. Said it was lonely. Said my voice deserved a room full of people. Not a basement booth and a red light that only flickered when someone remembered to pay the electric bill. I sat there, holding that tape in my hands, like it was something holy, something sacred. When I played it back again, the voice was gone. Just static. Empty, brittle static. I'm not ashamed to tell you I cried. Not quietly. Not with dignity. I sobbed like a wounded animal, curled up in that hallway, surrounded by dusty boxes and mold-eaten flyers for fall festivals that never happened, and let the grief come pouring out of every crack I'd tried so hard to seal up over the last few months. It wasn't just about my mom. It was everything. Everyone. Every name I've said into this mic and never heard again. Every whispered signal that vanished before I could answer. Every knock that didn't come. Every voice that stayed silent. And somewhere in the middle of it, I started laughing. Not because it was funny, because it was human. Because even in this aftermath, this rotted out echo of civilization, we still feel too much. We ache, we grieve, we miss. That's the last part of us they haven't taken. The infected can tear flesh. They can ruin buildings. They can claw up the sky if they wanted to. But they can't mourn. They can't remember. They don't hold stories in their hands like they're breakable and sacred and real. They don't carry voices inside them. But I do, and I always will. I heard from someone today. Real faint, just barely came through on band 3. Thought it was interference until I caught her name. Tanya, from the freezer. My whole body locked up when I heard it. You remember Tanya, right? She called weeks ago, hiding in a grocery store freezer with 2 kids, Luca and Ellie. I thought she was gone. I grieved her. I pictured them going cold and quiet, wrapped in plastic and hope. But she's not gone. She said they made it out, that after the compressor died and the cold started fading, they risked it. Waited until the infected passed through town again and climbed into the ventilation shaft. She said it was tight. Said she didn't think she'd make it through. But she did. And the kids? Still breathing, still laughing, even. Ellie sings now. Little songs she makes up about clouds and bugs and pancakes. Tanya says it keeps them calm, keeps them from remembering too much. She said Luca drew a picture of me, just from my voice. Said he imagines I look like a cross between a truck driver and Santa Claus. I'll take it. They're hiding in an old car wash now. Concrete walls, single entry point. She wires batteries from broken toys to power a small LED lamp they take turns sitting near. We call it the sun, she said, even though it's blue. Before she signed off, she said something that cracked me open in a new way. She said, "You're the reason we kept crawling. Not walking, crawling. Because that's what it feels like most days, isn't it? You're not standing tall and marching toward salvation. You're dragging yourself across broken glass, inch by inch, just trying to keep breathing long enough for a reason to show up. I don't know what I've done to deserve being anyone's reason, but I'll carry it anyway. I'll wear it like armor, because the world's forgotten how to hold each other. But if my voice can do it, if these words can wrap around someone like a blanket in the cold, then maybe I'm still useful. Maybe I still matter. I've been sleeping less, not just because of the noises or the knocks, but because I'm afraid to wake up to silence, to an airwave that doesn't carry anymore, to a board that won't light up. This mic has become more than equipment. It's an extension of me now, my last working limb. Every day, I check it the same way you check a wound. Gently. With reverence. Making sure it's still alive. Because if it goes, I go with it. So, to Tanya, to Luca, to Ellie, if you're hearing this, I'm still here. To the girl in the yellow raincoat who stood outside my station for 8 silent minutes and then vanished, I saw you. To whoever etched "We remember you" into the gate, I remember you too. To the woman in Missouri with the voice full of scripture and courage, I'm still listening. And to you, yes, you, the one who hasn't called, who hasn't said your name, who hasn't spoken out loud in days because the grief is too thick, I see you. Even in the silence, you're not forgotten. You're not invisible. You are still here. This is Jet Carter Harrington. Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still whispering, still witnessing, still human. Sometimes I wonder if we were always meant to end like this. Not in fire, not in floods, not in war or thunder from the sky, but in silence, in hunger, in watching our own reflections disappear from windows that once showed families, light, laughter. I wonder if we didn't build this ending ourselves, piece by piece, screen by screen, always too distracted to notice the hinges coming off the door, because the collapse didn't happen all at once. It crept. It unraveled like a loose thread no one thought to pull back in. And by the time we realized the sweater was gone, we were already cold and blaming the wind. This morning, I stood in front of the mirror for 27 minutes and didn't recognize the man looking back at me. The beard is thicker. The eyes are sunken. There's a scar across the left side of my temple I don't remember getting. My neck looks thinner. My hands more weathered. But it's the expression that got to me. That distant, cracked open expression I used to see in the eyes of people on the worst nights in the ER. That wide, quiet, hollow look of someone who's still alive because the alternative was worse. I stared until my reflection blinked slower than I did. That's when I turned away. The generator stalled last night, kicked, sputtered, then died with a sigh like an old man laying down for the last time. I thought that was it, that the signal would die with it, that my voice would get cut mid-sentence, maybe while I was telling someone that hope still existed, or reading a child's name aloud into the dark. It felt like a betrayal I wasn't prepared for. I sat in that chair, mic still warm, headset still pressed to my ear, and I whispered a prayer to no one. Not because I believed in anything, but because desperation makes believers out of all of us eventually. Then I remembered the bike. Years ago, one of the engineers here rigged up an old exercise bike to a car battery. Said it was a joke. Said if the power ever went out and we still had something important to say, we could peddle our truth into the void. I laughed at him. Thought it was dumb. We all did. But this morning, I pedaled that damn thing for 40 minutes. Legs burning. Lungs aching. Sweat running down my back like a slow apology. And the board came back to life. One light. Then two. Then the full hum of the console powering up like it was forgiving me. The signal held. And that might have been the most human moment I've had in weeks. Fighting with my own legs to keep a voice alive. Not because anyone told me to, but because I still wanted to be heard. That's what we are now. Not survivors. Not rebels. Transmitters. People turned inside out by grief and hunger and silence, still choosing to send pieces of ourselves across the airwaves like paper boats on black water. I got a signal from a convoy today. First in a long time. They call themselves the Drift. Said they're made up of 6 vehicles, mostly utility vans and modified campers. They've been moving east since Texas fell. Slow, quiet, methodical. They use hand signals, painted signs, walkie-talkies on a closed loop. Said they have a medic, a mechanic, and a librarian. That last one hit me harder than I thought it would. A librarian. Out here. After everything. Said her name's Camille, 63 years old, drives the lead van, carries a steel crate full of books that people trade stories for. You give her a memory, she gives you a page. Said it's her way of making sure the world doesn't forget itself. They stopped near an old roadside motel yesterday. Let a family join them. A mother, father, twin girls who hadn't spoken in weeks. The father said the only thing the girls reacted to was hearing a man's voice on the radio. You, he said. They thought you were Santa Claus. I told him I wasn't, that I was just a guy with a bike, a board, and a voice that hasn't quit yet. He laughed, said, "That's close enough." Before they moved on, he asked if I could say their names out loud. So I will. May, June, Olivia, Carl. If you're still tuned in, if you're huddled up somewhere listening to the rain fall on a camper roof, I see you. You matter. You're not a statistic or a footprint or a whisper on the wind. You are real, and you are still here. Sometimes I think about how this will all be remembered, if it's remembered at all. Will someone someday dig through ash and find one of these broadcasts? Will they play it on old equipment and hear my voice, warped and stretched by time, and wonder who I was? Will they hear the names and think we were just data, just stories without faces? Or will they feel it, that we hurt, that we fought, that we didn't go quietly, that we stayed kind, that we stayed human? I have this dream sometimes. Might be more of a daydream, really. In it, the tower's still standing. The station's overgrown, vines through every crack. The door is hanging on by one hinge. But inside, someone's sitting at the board. A kid, maybe. Dirty hands, curious eyes. They press the mic, clear their throat, and say, "This is 104.7 FM. If you're out there, we hear you." And someone answers. That's the dream. Not rebuilding, not revenge. Just one voice reaching another. And maybe that's enough. This is Jet Carter Harrington, Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still pedaling, still remembering, still holding the line. There's a moment that happens just before sunrise where everything feels suspended, like the world itself hasn't made up its mind whether it wants to keep going, or let the dark stay a little longer. It's not peaceful. People always talk about dawn like it's this gentle promise of light after shadow. But out here, dawn is a coin flip. It's the moment where things that feed on fear fade back into the trees, and things that are just trying to survive rub the dirt from their eyes and count what's still left. It's when the screaming stops, but you don't trust the silence yet. That's where I live now, in the gray between retreat and return. I haven't seen the sun in 5 days, but I know that feeling so well I could write its obituary. This morning, I sat on the roof, bundled in a tarp, watching the fog rise up off the road like a memory trying to crawl home. I was holding a cup of cold water, pretending it was coffee. Pretending it was something normal, something warm. I hadn't spoken in hours, not even to myself. My voice felt foreign in my own throat, like I'd swallowed the words instead of spoken them. You don't realize how much of your sanity is tied to the sound of your own voice until you go without it long enough. Then I heard a single shot, just one, far off, echoed out of the valley like a warning or a goodbye. I didn't flinch, didn't even turn. I just closed my eyes and whispered, "I'm sorry." because that's the only prayer I have left anymore. I don't know who it was. I never will. And that's what breaks me, piece by piece, more than anything else. Not the death, but the disappearance, the unmarked endings, the stories that never get finished, the voices that go quiet without anyone knowing the last thing they said. We used to have rituals, funerals, wakes, vigils. Now, if you're lucky, someone hears the echo of the gunshot and speaks your name before the birds return. That's our eulogy now. And still, every day, I press this mic button and talk. Because even if there's only one of you left out there to hear it, I want you to know we existed. We fought. We loved. We failed. We tried. And that has to count for something. It has to. I've been thinking a lot about sound lately, about how it travels, how it lingers. When I first started in radio, we had this old technician named Lowell. He was a relic, tweed jacket, yellow teeth, hands that smelled like ash and engine grease. He used to say that every word you speak on air never really dies. It just gets quieter. He said the signal stretches and weakens, sure, but somewhere, somehow, it still echoes. Maybe not on this planet, maybe not in our time, but out there, floating. He told me, we're all ghosts on the radio. We just don't know it yet. At the time, I laughed. I thought he was nuts. Now, I'm not so sure. Because sometimes when I play back the recordings, just the raw feeds, the static choked whispers, I hear things that don't belong. A name, a breath, a laugh that doesn't line up with anything I said. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's everything. Maybe it's the past trying to remind me it's not done yet. I caught another voice on the loop last night, just as I was spooling down the power and getting ready to crawl into the cot behind the studio wall. It was a child, young. A girl, maybe 9, maybe 10. The audio was faint, cracked, almost dissolved by static. But she said 4 words I haven't been able to shake since. Tell them I'm here. That's it. No name, no direction, no fear. Just that sentence. Like a flare fired into the night sky. Like the last page of a book with no beginning. I played it back 12 times, checked the frequency logs. It wasn't a loop. It wasn't me. It wasn't anything from the last 3 months of stored calls. It was new. And now I can't stop wondering, who's them? Who's she? And am I the last person who'll ever hear her? If you're listening, if that was you, I heard you. I don't know your name, but I believe you. You are here. You are not forgotten. Your voice made it. And in a world where entire towns have vanished beneath ivy and rot, where history now lasts about as long as it takes for a body to cool, that is a miracle. A quiet miracle. The only kind we still get. I made soup today. Actual soup. Found a packet of powdered broth in the back of the supply drawer, tucked beneath an old hand-crank flashlight and 2 half-used batteries. Boiled some water with a solar coil I rigged from a busted floodlight and poured it over the powder. The smell hit me so hard I almost dropped the mug. It wasn't fancy. Wasn't even good. But it tasted like trying. Like the world hadn't completely stopped turning. And I sat there, just me, a cup, and the last good spoon. And I cried as I drank it. Because no one tells you that soup can break your heart. That's how thin we are now. 1 spoonful away from sobbing. 1 story away from forgetting how to stand. 1 voice away from believing again. I don't know if this will reach you. I don't know if I'm talking to one person or none. But just in case, this is Jet Carter Harrington. Ash Pine, 104.7 FM. Still alive, still fighting for the sound of a name. Still holding the line, one word at a time.